as we labor for God, as we work for God, sometimes some of the things that we have to do as workers in church may not be very, very convenient. Sometimes we have to go through a lot of sacrifice to do some of them, but if it requires that, we have a responsibility to carry it out, even when it is not convenient. Sometimes it probably would lay demand on our finances. Sometimes it will lay demand on our comfort. So I may be very, very tired after going through a hectic time in the day, and then there is evening, and I still have to be in church because I'm a worker, and I do it. It is just one of the demands of the higher calling that the Lord has placed on our shoulders. Look at somebody like Paul. Paul will move from place to place. All he was doing was what? Getting the gospel across to Gentile cities. Some of those journeys, I tell you, brethren, were not convenient for Paul. If you have ever traveled on the sea, I have never traveled on the sea, but if you go by the seaside, sometimes even the smell alone nauseates. Does anybody, am I correct? It nauseates. And then there is somebody who would travel on sea, and then sometimes Paul talked about how he was in shipwreck. How many times? The peril of being among false brethren, people that you will have nurtured, you have prayed for, you have brought them to Christ, but you don't know that they are false. But it never deterred Paul. When it is convenient, when it is not convenient, he's doing it because of the demands of the assignments that God placed on his shoulders. And I want us to know one thing, that demands of the assignment that God has placed on our shoulders would require sacrifice. And when it is sacrifice, it is not convenient. But we have to continue. We have to be encouraged. We have to tell ourselves that God has given me a higher call. And it is said in secular settings that uneasy lies the head that does what? That wears the crown. Uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. So as workers, when sacrifice is demanded because of the calling that God has given to us, let's be there to make the sacrifice. So I'm tired. I've had a hard day's work. In fact, as I am now, all I want to do is to hit my bed. But I have to be in choir practice, or I have to be in church earlier than everybody. What do I do? God, I know it's not easy, but your joy is my strength. If this is a requirement, Lord, I would rather give it than deny myself. Praise the Lord. God is not unrighteous to forget your work and your labor of love which you have shown towards his name, in that you have ministered to the saints and you still continue to minister. In other words, minister, ministry, serve, service. You still continue in serving. Your work and your labor of love which we have shown towards his name. You see, our motivating factor as ministers, as servants of God, as laborers in God's vineyard, our motivation is that we are doing it for our God. people, for all of us that work, all of us are working, okay? So at the end of the month, you're getting your salary. What is the motivation when you go to work? You wake up in the morning, it's not convenient. I remember my uncle, before he was transferred, those days, he lives at Yanopaja, he works in VI. He's up by 4:30. Not up, he's out of the house, but because of the traffic to come out of that Ipaja axis. And because if he leaves home by 5, he gets stuck in Ipaja. He gets stuck and he can't make it to VI before 8. And he does not get back home. Sometimes 11. Sometimes when we visit him and we talk, 12 o'clock, he's sleeping on the chair as we are talking. By 3, he's up again. But why will he do all of that? Why will he go through all of that? Because he has to work at the end of the month. He has a salary to collect. And if he does not play his part of the contract with his company, he's not going to get that salary at the end of the month. He may even be sacked. And so he puts in all of those efforts. But as he rose in the company and rose and became one of the guys in the company, he didn't have to report as early as that anymore. So sometimes when I visit him, he just leaves home around 7:30. Uncle, are you not going to work? I'll go to work. And he leaves home around 7. Our motivation, brethren, is what we do in the name of our God. As we serve, we're serving for God. We're serving God. As we labor, we're laboring for God. As we make those sacrifices, we are making those sacrifices for who? For God.